At 82 years old, Hollywood icon Raquel Welch whispered a name few expected and called him the one that got away. For decades, the stunning star kept quiet about her deepest regret, but now, with time slipping away, she's finally revealing the truth. Comment 1 if you've ever loved someone but never told them, or 0 if you believe in moving on. Because today we uncover the name Raquel Welch held closest to her heart and why she never stopped loving him. In the golden age of Hollywood, no one shone brighter than Raquel Welch. With her unforgettable role in 1 Million Years BC and her classic beauty, she became a global sensation overnight. Men across the world were captivated by her, but Raquel was never one to wear her heart on her sleeve. She was married 4 times, but as she later admitted, I was never truly in love with any of them. Her high school sweetheart. Looking back at the formative years of Raquel Welch's personal life, it's clear that her early experiences in love and family were as defining as any of her roles on the silver screen. On May 8, 1959, just months after her 18th birthday, she married her high school sweetheart, James Welch, in a quiet, unassuming ceremony in Las Vegas, Nevada, a far cry from the glitz and spectacle that would come to surround her in the decades ahead. It was a classic post-war American love story, 2 young people full of hope, stepping into adulthood, hand in hand, dreaming of a life built together. At that point in time, Raquel, then still going by her birth name, Jo Raquel Tejada, had only just begun to entertain thoughts of stardom. Like many young women of the 1950s, her life followed a traditional path in the beginning: marriage, motherhood, and trying to make ends meet. But behind her striking beauty was a restless spirit and an unshakable drive. Just 6 months after the wedding, she gave birth to their first child, a son named Damon Welch, on November 6, 1959. Damon's birth was a moment of joy, though it also brought the weight of new responsibilities. Then, on December 26, 1961, she gave birth to their daughter, Latan Renee Tani Welch. With 2 children under the age of 3, Raquel found herself living a life that resembled many of her generation's realities, navigating motherhood with grace, grit, and a quiet strength that would later come to define her both on and off screen. Still, as her domestic life grew more demanding, so too did the pull of her dreams. The early 1960s were a time of great cultural upheaval in America, and for Raquel, they marked the beginning of a transformation. Despite the joys of motherhood, it became increasingly clear that the confines of a traditional married life did not align with the ambition and creative fire burning within her. Her growing passion for the arts, her desire to perform, and her determination to succeed in the entertainment industry placed immense pressure on the marriage. By 1962, the couple had separated, and their divorce was finalized 2 years later in 1964. It was a painful but necessary turning point in her life, opening the door to a career that would soon reach meteoric heights. Interestingly, though her marriage to James Welch ended, Raquel made the conscious decision to keep the Welch surname, an act that at the time seemed pragmatic but in retrospect proved prophetic. As her career began to flourish, casting agents, publicists, and fans began to associate the name Welch with glamour, confidence, and strength. And though her birth name Tejada reflected her Bolivian roots, the Hollywood system of the 1960s often demanded assimilation over authenticity. By holding on to the name Welch, Raquel preserved a part of her past while building a new identity in the public eye, one that allowed her to bridge the world she came from and the one she was entering. It was a name she would carry with her for the rest of her life, through the heights of fame and into the quiet dignity of her later years. Even as she moved forward, Raquel never abandoned her role as a mother, nor did she shy away from the complexities of balancing family and fame. Throughout her life, she remained closely connected to her children, even as her film and television schedule kept her constantly in motion. Damon and Tani, though often shielded from the spotlight, stood by her side at events and accompanied her through the whirlwind of public life. In interviews, Raquel spoke candidly about the challenges of raising children while also being a working actress in a male-dominated industry. She acknowledged her shortcomings but also emphasized the pride she felt in having raised 2 thoughtful, grounded individuals. Ultimately, Raquel Welch's early marriage and family life laid the foundation for the woman she would become: resilient, determined, and deeply human, Her decision to keep the name Welch was not only a professional one but a personal testament to the chapters that shaped her. Through all the roles, the accolades, and the decades of being in the public eye, she remained tethered to that early identity. And when she passed away in 2023 at the age of 82, she did so still bearing the name that had come to mean so much, not just to her, but to generations of fans who grew up watching her on screen. A tapestry of love and fame. As Raquel's presence in Hollywood became more firmly established in the mid-1960s, her second major romance would unfold this time with someone directly tied to her career. She married Patrick Curtis, a former child actor turned savvy Hollywood publicist, on February 14, 1967. Their wedding in Paris was elegant and symbolic. Valentine's Day in the City of Light felt like the perfect setting for a glamorous love story. Curtis quickly took on a far greater role than that of a traditional spouse. He became her manager and strategic partner, carefully crafting her image and guiding her through the labyrinth of studio expectations and public perception. Under Curtis's direction, Raquel fully embraced the sex symbol persona that Hollywood had begun to attach to her after her role in 1,000,000 Years BC. He helped her land roles that elevated her from starlet to international icon, but not without personal cost. While they shared professional triumphs, their personal relationship was turbulent. Fame, control, and differing visions for the future slowly chipped away at the romance. The couple divorced in early 1972, closing the door on a partnership that had brought both acclaim and controversy. In later years, Curtis stirred headlines by claiming that Raquel had undergone an abortion during their marriage, a deeply personal allegation that she never publicly acknowledged, choosing instead to maintain her long-standing preference for privacy when it came to painful personal matters. Around the same period, particularly in 1968, stories emerged from Spanish tabloids that added more intrigue to Raquel's already vivid life story. While filming 100 Rifles in Spain, a Western action film known as much for its casting as its on-set tension, Raquel reportedly became romantically involved with Spanish actor Sancho Gracia. Though Gracia only had a minor role in the film, rumors quickly spread of a passionate affair that blossomed under the Mediterranean sun. According to those stories, especially retold in circles of old Spanish journalists, Patrick Curtis discovered the affair and, in a fit of jealousy, confronted Gracia at the hotel in Agua Dulce, allegedly chasing him through the halls with dangerous stuff. Whether true or embellished by time and sensational headlines, the tale added to Raquel's mystique and highlighted the emotional volatility of her relationship with Curtis. Though never confirmed by Raquel herself, the story became one of many that followed her throughout her life. Struggle romantic life. As the 60s faded into the 70s, Raquel Welch blossomed into a household name, and with fame came public curiosity about her private life. Following her divorce, Raquel found herself romantically linked to several of the era's most recognizable names. Among them was Joe Namath, the star quarterback whose Broadway Joe persona brought swagger to football and fame beyond the field. She was also connected to Hollywood heavyweight Robert Evans, a man whose name was etched into the history of films like Chinatown and The Godfather. And then there was Freddie Prinze, the rising young comic whose tragic death in 1977 cut short a promising career and shocked audiences across the country. Although Welch never publicly confirmed these romances, they added to her mystique. In an age when magazines like People and Life were eagerly devoured at kitchen tables and hair salons across America, Raquel was more than just a screen siren. She was a woman whose personal life, glamorous, mysterious, sometimes troubled, echoed the very dramas she portrayed on screen. Then came July 5, 1980, a new chapter, a new husband, and the quiet hope of something lasting. On that day, she married Andre Weinfeld, a French-American producer and former journalist with a sophisticated European air. Their ceremony, held in the romantic coastal town of Cabo San Lucas, Mexico, was far more intimate than Hollywood grandiosity might suggest. At first, it seemed this marriage would be different. There was something grounded about their union, and indeed it became the longest of her 4 marriages, lasting a full decade, a quiet but meaningful stretch in a life otherwise lived under a spotlight. During these years, Raquel slowed the pace of her film career and began exploring new passions. She dedicated herself to her growing business empire, a line of beauty products, fitness books, and her now famous wig collection. She appeared less frequently on screen, but remained ever present in the public eye, known for her elegance, discipline, and dignity. For many women who came of age in the 50s and 60s, Raquel represented a form of timeless grace, someone who embraced age not with fear, but with style. But life has its heartbreaks, no matter who you are. In early February 1983, while vacationing with Andre on the quiet and secluded island of Mustique, Raquel suffered a miscarriage. She had been 3 months pregnant. For a woman who had already raised 2 children and carved out a remarkable career, this loss was deeply personal. It brought grief into a life already filled with public pressure. Though she rarely spoke about it, those close to her noted how the event created a quiet sorrow that lingered. It ultimately contributed to the slow unraveling of her marriage. By August 1990, she and Weinfeld quietly finalized their divorce. Keep finding real love. Following the quiet end of her third marriage, Raquel chose to step away from the public eye romantically for a time during the early 1990s. It was a return to privacy and solitude, the kind many in her generation might remember as a pause for self-reflection, a time to regroup rather than rush into the next chapter. She focused on her family business ventures and wellness interests, allowing her to grow inwardly, even as the world continued to see her as a timeless icon. But the spotlight found her once again in 1996 when she was suddenly the talk of entertainment columns due to her unexpected and widely publicized romance with British actor and former boxing champion Gary Stretch. Stretch, with his charming good looks and burgeoning career, was not only considerably younger than Welch, but was in fact younger than both of her children, a detail the media could not help but point out with a mix of fascination and raised eyebrows. Still, for those who had followed Raquel's journey for decades, the romance didn't seem entirely surprising. After all, she had always lived by her own rules. From her earliest days breaking into Hollywood to becoming one of the few women of her generation to headline action and Western films, she never allowed convention to confine her. The relationship, though not long-lasting, was marked by public appearances filled with smiles, laughter, and a kind of unapologetic joy. Whether at premieres or upscale social events, the two seemed content if only for a brief season. But as many in her age group would understand, not every romance is meant to endure. The pair eventually drifted apart, and Raquel returned once more to the comfort of privacy. It was a rhythm she had grown accustomed to, moments of passion followed by stretches of solitude, always choosing to guard her inner peace over forced companionship. That changed again on July 17, 1999, when Welch took the plunge for a fourth and final time. She married Richie Palmer, a native New Yorker and restaurateur best known as the co-owner of the popular Mulberry Street Pizzeria in Beverly Hills, a hotspot frequented by celebrities and locals alike. The ceremony took place in the warm familiarity of Welch's own Beverly Hills home and was attended by a small circle of close friends and loved ones. It was not the lavish spectacle many might expect of a Hollywood legend, but rather a refined and intimate affair that spoke to Welch's maturing tastes and growing desire for authenticity. Palmer, who had a son from a previous relationship, was no stranger to the world of celebrity himself. He had once been engaged to actress Kathy Moriarty, with whom he shared both romantic and business ties. But when he ended that engagement in late 1997 and began pursuing Welch, it sparked a connection that would soon lead to marriage. At first, the match appeared to be one of genuine passion and complementary ambition. Yet, as is often the case in life's later stages, differences that seemed small at first began to grow. By August of 2003, the couple separated, finalizing their divorce in 2004. Welch would later allude to differences in lifestyle and temperament as the cause of the split. It was perhaps another example of two people coming together with the best of hopes, only to discover that companionship, especially later in life, requires not just affection, but deep compatibility. By the time she reached her early 70s, Welch had clearly entered a reflective and philosophical stage of life. In a 2011 interview with Elle magazine, she shared candidly that she no longer wished to remarry. She spoke of valuing her independence, her peace of mind, and her ability to make decisions without compromise. In a tone many older readers may find familiar, she expressed a quiet contentment in being alone. Not lonely, but self-assured, satisfied, and free from the pressures that long-term relationships can bring. And yet, romance wasn't entirely out of the picture. In the early to mid-2010s, whispers of a companionship with Nigel Lithgow, the well-known British TV producer behind American Idol and So You Think You Can Dance, began to surface. Though neither Welch nor Lithgow made formal announcements about their relationship, the two were seen together at several industry gatherings, and mutual friends described their bond as one of both intellectual respect and emotional intimacy. Real love of her life. By the time she reached 82 years of age, Raquel Welch, once the face of Hollywood glamour, whose image had adorned everything from bedroom posters to glossy magazine covers, had lived a life that few could ever imagine, and even fewer could understand. In an intimate, late-in-life interview that felt more like a fireside chat than a Hollywood tell-all, she finally opened a door that had remained tightly shut for decades. For those who remembered the golden years of cinema, the days when movie tickets cost $1 TV, had just 3 channels, and families gathered together around the console set to watch shows like Bonanza or The Ed Sullivan Show, Raquel Welch had always seemed like a figure from another world. Ethereal, breathtaking, yet somehow untouchable. But behind the camera, behind the headlines, was a woman of quiet strength and private heartbreak. In a revelation that took many by surprise, Welch gently shared that the greatest love of her life, the one that stayed tucked away hidden from the pages of tabloids and biographies, was none other than Ernest Borgnine. Yes, that Ernest Borgnine. The gruff but lovable actor whose roles ranged from gritty Navy men to tender-hearted bachelors. The very same man who won an Academy Award for Marty in 1955 and who graced living rooms in the 1960s and 70s with his unmistakable voice and working man's smile. Raquel, born Joe, Raquel Tejada in 1940, had seen Hollywood from every angle, its bright lights, its pitfalls, and its ever-changing standards. She became an icon almost overnight with her fur bikini-clad role in 1,000,000 Years B.C., a film that barely had any lines for her yet immortalized her in the minds of a generation. Men admired her. Women envied and aspired to her beauty. And yet, Raquel never quite surrendered herself to the machine. She refused to do nude scenes, insisted on roles with substance, and maintained a firm grip on her image in an industry eager to shape it for her. And while her romantic life often made headlines, she was married 4 times. After all, none of those stories told the quiet truth of her bond with Ernest Borgnine. Theirs was a relationship that didn't follow Hollywood's script. It wasn't a whirlwind tabloid affair or a studio-manufactured romance. It was, as Welch now recalled, a gentle, enduring friendship that slowly deepened into something far more profound. They met often on sets and at Hollywood functions, exchanging stories, laughter, and an understanding that neither had to explain. He called her Rocky, a nod to her childhood nickname. She called him Ernie. There was nothing formal about it. He'd tell her corny jokes, and she'd laugh from the gut, not the diaphragm. He'd surprise her with little thoughtful gestures, a handwritten note, a paperback he thought she'd enjoy a simple cup of coffee when she looked tired during a shoot. These were not grand gestures. They were the kind of small, thoughtful acts that stick in the soul, the way the smell of your grandmother's kitchen or the crackling sound of a vinyl record still lingers in memory. In recalling Borgnine, Raquel's voice softened as if she were speaking about a childhood friend or a long-lost sweetheart from another era. She shared how he was one of the few people in the industry who looked past her beauty and saw the intellect, the quiet discipline, the real person. He understood her without the need for performance or posturing. And during her toughest moments when the cameras turned away or when personal loss overwhelmed her, he was a constant. A lighthouse in the distance. The years passed, and life as it does went its own way. Timing never aligned for a conventional romance. They never married, never lived under the same roof, but their bond never faded. In private, they kept in touch, shared letters, phone calls, and occasional visits. And while the world chased after her glamorous image, Raquel kept Ernie close like a treasured photograph tucked inside a favorite book. Ernest Borgnine passed away in 2012 at the age of 95. He was remembered fondly by his fans as the face of McHale's Navy and the Wild Bunch. But to Raquel, he was so much more. She spoke of him now not with regret, but with gratitude. "He made me laugh when I didn't feel like smiling," she said quietly. "He reminded me who I was when I felt like I'd lost myself." This confession, made with the humility and grace of someone who had outlived the myths written about her, allowed the world to see the woman behind the stardom. No longer just the pinup of the 60s or the fitness queen of the 80s, Raquel Welch became something even more powerful. An elder voice speaking truthfully about love, about memory, and about what really matters once the lights have dimmed. Her story, now told fully, resonates deeply with those who came of age in her era. Those who remember when movie stars were larger than life, yet somehow still felt like one of us. And in Ernest Borgnine, we were reminded of the kind of man many grew up admiring, strong but gentle, tough but tender, a man who held doors open and said what he meant. Raquel Welch's tribute to him, shared at long last, was not just a confession of love. It was a reminder that even the most glamorous lives are shaped by quiet, unseen connections. And sometimes the love that never made the headlines is the one that lasts forever. In the final chapters of her life, she gave us a gift more lasting than any poster or performance: the truth about the man who truly held her heart. Long before she became a household name or adorned the walls of bedrooms and movie theaters across the country, Raquel was simply a young woman in love, trying to navigate life as best she could. Entrance into Hollywood. Let's take a walk down memory lane, back to a time when television screens where square color was still a luxury, and westerns played every Sunday night after supper. If you grew up during the golden age of radio, or remember the first time your family got a black and white television, then the name Raquel Welch likely rings a bell clear as a Sunday church bell in summertime. Born Joe Raquel Tejada on September 5, 1940, in the heart of Chicago. Raquel was the daughter of a Bolivian-born aeronautical engineer, Armando Carlos Tejada Urquizo, and Josephine Sarah Hall, a warm-spirited woman of English heritage. Her exotic beauty had roots that crossed continents, though in the Hollywood of the 1950s and 60s. A town still wrestling with its own ideas of identity, Raquel was often quietly encouraged to soften her Latina background. It was a different time, and many of us remember it well. When her family moved west to the sunshine of San Diego, Raquel was still just a little girl, barely old enough to lace up her ballet shoes. She began studying dance at age 7, long before disco balls or rock and roll sock hops. For those of us who recall going to the local theater with 10 cents and a dream, Raquel's rise feels both familiar and astonishing. She was one of those rare people you could imagine walking through your neighborhood but then see larger than life on the big screen. By the time she reached high school, Raquel had already entered and won a string of beauty contests, including the title of Miss San Diego. These weren't just pageants, they were grand events in local auditoriums where kids wore their Sunday best and parents clutched Polaroids hoping to capture a glimpse of youthful charm and promise. For Raquel, these early accolades instilled a powerful sense of discipline, elegance, and confidence, values that so many of us grew up admiring and aspiring to. Her path to Hollywood wasn't paved in gold. Like many young hopefuls of her era, she paid her dues posing for catalogs, reading small lines in forgettable films, and knocking on doors that didn't always open. But then came 1966, a year many still remember for the British invasion, transistor radios, and the space race. That same year, Raquel Welch landed a role in 1,000,000 Years BC, a prehistoric fantasy film that strangely enough didn't require much dialogue. What it required was charisma, and that Raquel had in spades. Clad in a now legendary fur bikini, she appeared on posters that adorned bedroom walls and barbershops across the country. For many of us, that image became as unforgettable as the first time we saw Elvis on The Ed Sullivan Show. Yet, Raquel didn't let the image define her. She knew there was more to her than a poster. She pushed for roles that challenged expectations, whether in comedy or serious drama. Challenging herself, she took on varied roles in the films like Fantastic Voyage and Bandolero, danced with comedy in Bedazzled, and tested boundaries with Myra Breckinridge. In 1973, her role in The Three Musketeers earned her a Golden Globe not just for acting, but for being a woman of style, humor, and strength. By 1971, when she starred in the western Hannie Calder, she wasn't just another actress in Fringe and Boots. She played a woman seeking justice long before revenge narratives were the Hollywood norm. Later, Quentin Tarantino would even credit Hannie Calder as inspiration for Kill Bill, noting how Raquel's portrayal of grit and grace opened doors to a new kind of female hero. Unlike many leading ladies of the time, Welch refused to do nude scenes. Not because she was shy, but because she believed in holding the reins of her own career, a choice that, for older fans, echoed the values of dignity, modesty, and self-respect they were raised with. By the 1980s and 90s, as the world turned more fast-paced and digital, Raquel Welch adapted gracefully. She didn't fade away, she reinvented. Many of us remember flipping through TV channels and seeing her on variety shows in dramatic specials, or even on Broadway in Woman of the Year. She always brought wit, intelligence, and a sense of grounded elegance. Then came her entrepreneurial chapter, launching beauty products, fitness videos, and a line of wigs that became a sensation. Her Total Beauty and Fitness program wasn't just a business, it was a call to women, especially those entering middle age, to embrace vitality without apology. To the generation who remembers Sock Hop's Ed Sullivan, and when beauty meant more than followers and filters, Raquel Welch was associated with only. I. Sex symbol of Hollywood's golden age is fading. In the house she shared with her family in Los Angeles, California, on February 15, 2023. Raquel Welch, the legendary actress and sex icon of Hollywood's golden age, passed away quietly from cardiac arrest. A great life and career that lasted several decades came to an end when she passed away at the age of 82. Her passing marked the end of a tremendous accomplishment. The news of her demise was a momentous occasion for people all over the world who had adored her, not just for her amazing beauty, but also for the impressive variety she showed as an actor. The passing of Welch was not an unexpected event. Over the course of the years preceding up to her demise, she had been struggling with a number of significant health issues. The fact that she fought Alzheimer's disease, a neurological ailment that worsens with time and has an impact on memory and cognitive function, was one of the most heartbreaking parts of her later years. Welch's capacity to interact with the world around her had been steadily diminished as a result of Alzheimer's disease, which had an effect not only on her personal life, but also on her connections with the people she cared about. The final chapter of her life was made more difficult by the presence of the condition, which is notorious for the catastrophic impact it has on the functioning of the brain. The fact that Alzheimer's disease not only causes memories to go away, but also profoundly transforms the identity and experiences of persons who are affected by it makes Welch's battle all the more devastating for her family, friends, and admirers who are loyal to her. Her cardiac arrest, which was the direct cause of her death, was a serious medical event that was defined by the rapid loss of heart activity. A cardiac arrest can be the outcome of a number of different underlying health issues, including the cumulative effects of age and other chronic illnesses. If medical care is not sought immediately, cardiac arrest frequently results in death. For Welch, the inability of her heart to maintain its rhythm and functioning was most likely caused by the combination of her senior age and the deteriorated health that she experienced as a result of Alzheimer's disease. The fact that she passed away at home provides some consolation to those who are grieving her loss, since it implies that her death may have been peaceful and that she was surrounded by those who were closest to her. Welch has had the ability to fascinate viewers not just with her on-screen performances, but also with her tenacity and bravery in the face of personal adversity throughout her whole life. The fact that she passed away from cardiac arrest, in addition to the fact that she had been battling Alzheimer's disease, exemplifies the harsh reality that even the most famous people face in their personal life. The truth of her latter years mirrors the general human experience of age and sickness, despite the fact that her supporters remember her for her gorgeous public presence. In the annals of Hollywood history, the passing of Raquel Welch signified the conclusion of a dynamic narrative. Additionally, the tale of her health challenges throws attention on the larger concerns of aging, neurological illness, and heart health. Her contributions to movies and popular culture continue to have an impact, and her health struggles continue to be an inspiration. In addition, it acts as a reminder of the significance of undertaking medical research and providing care for disorders such as Alzheimer's disease, which affects millions of people all over the world. It is crucial when honoring Welch to commemorate not just her career as a famous actress and cultural icon, but also the decency with which she confronted her final problems. This is because Welch handled her final challenges with remarkable dignity. Her death, which occurred at the age of 82 and was caused by heart arrest while she was battling Alzheimer's disease, highlights the precarious nature of life and the resilience that is necessary to confront its most challenging times. Raquel Welch's legacy will forever be her beauty, talent, and strength. But behind all that was a heart that never forgot a single name. Have you ever had a love you let slip away? Share your story in the comments below. We'd love to hear it. If this story moved you, please like the video and subscribe to our channel for more touching stories from Hollywood's golden hearts. Because some loves don't fade. They just wait to be told.